All right.
Hello! The royalty of Agador? What was it? Peladon? What was his name?
Peladon. Agador was the god. Peladon was the planet.
The Receptioning Committee of Peladon Agador welcomes you to this, the 61st episode of the Drunk Doctor Who podcast, discussing the 61st serial of Doctor Who.
The Curse of Peladon.
This is your host, Hatter. Today joined by Liam.
Every day joined by you.
Liam Hemsworth.
Liam.
Co-host.
What?
Liam Hemsworth. That's who I am today.
Okay. I guess you get to choose who you are every day.
Well, it's for our audio listeners.
Oh, okay.
I like to introduce myself as a very attractive actor. It keeps people engaged. They're like, ooh, Liam.
Dude, you're a good-looking young man. You don't have to mess with that crap. Okay,
I'll sell the shoes.
Alright,
Getting comfortable, aren't you?
This was 4 episodes, aired from January 29th, 1972 to February 19th, 1972. The companions are Joe Grant, the Brigadier and Sergeant Benton aren't in it. And the antagonists, we're going to have a few actually.
That's debatable, yeah.
We're going to have a few. You got Heifer, or whatever his name is. What's his name?
Heppish.
Alright, antagonists are Heppish. What was the brain thing's name?
Arcturus.
Yeah, Heppish, Arcturus. That's about right. I guess you could include Agador, but...
Yeah,
but no.
To the same capacity, you could include
Grun.
Agador.
Or Grun. Yeah.
That's what I meant.
So we'll stick with Heppish and that other
Arctus,
thing.
yeah.
Arctus, yeah. Anyway, so only 4 episodes, which in modern times seems like a lot, but in those times it was actually not that much. In fact, there are very few serials that are shorter up until... Wow. The 5th Doctor.
Did you say 4 is the average?
Overall, if you had to go through the entire history of the show, probably 4 is the average, yeah.
You think like the older serials would be 6, and then after the revival 4 would be...
Well, yeah, for the older stuff, the average is probably going to be 5.5 or 6.
Newspaper holder.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. There's a little spot for a light.
Yeah.
Or
a microphone.
We tried that, it didn't really work.
It didn't, but it can. It will, eventually. Maybe.
Eventually. I forget, eventually.
Arm, checking out. Oh, I got the sound phone. I'd have to bring it over.
That's Faulty Towers.
You have to...
Eventually. I forget, eventually.
Faulty Towers.
Faulty Towers.
Is that a movie?
No, it's a TV show. British TV show, which was rated by Britons as a #1 comedy of all time.
Really?
TV show, yeah. Only had like 12 episodes or something. Starring John Cleese. Yeah. Really good, funny stuff. Alright, John Cleese of Python fame. Alright.
Python.
Yeah, what are you drinking?
Today we're drinking Jack and Coke and...
Magma Flame. Yay, they finally got it back in. I'm so happy.
Just straight Magma Flame. Because life's too short
for bad alcohol. Bad tasting alcohol. Exactly. Alright. So here is the Curse of Peladon. Obviously we do not have this particular season in Blu-ray as of yet. But just DVD. Yep. Alright, so...
The eye looks different on the back. Okay, there. He looks different.
That's Alpha Centauri. It's an it, remember?
It's so good.
Hermaphroditic hexapod. Alright.
What if our giant eyeball got a cataract? Or, say, needed protective lenses. Didn't have ears. Would it use contact lenses? How would it put the contact lens in with its tiny arms?
I don't know.
Do they just genetically constantly have 20/20 vision?
Possibly. Just remember, cataract is also a water formation or something like that.
My dad had cataracts.
He had water
You know,
formations.
back in the ancient times, how they would cure cataracts is they would like cut open the top part of the iris and then basically just inject a straw and suck it out with their mouth.
Really?
They would suck out the cataract.
When was this?
Like medieval ages.
Medieval ages.
Around there. That's how they would fix cataracts.
Maybe, okay. I don't know about this.
It's nasty.
Alright.
I'm thankful for technology.
Amen to that.
Ugh.
Alright, so first episode, the Doctor and Joe Grant are in the TARDIS.
There's a ruckus.
Yeah, and they're taking it for a spin now that they have the TARDIS again. And see, we got the third Doctor right there. Take it for a spin, and they wind up on this planet. The Doctor thinks it's Earth. Turns out not to be. Turns out to be Peladon.
Go on.
Okay, I'm just watching the interlude here. Put the bottle on there.
The kickstand.
It works. All right. So they land on this planet. The Doctor goes out to see where they are. Turns out they're on Peladon, and there's a lot of wind, and it's really dark, and it's really stormy, and they're on a mountain halfway up.
Materialized on a precipice.
Precipice, yeah. And so the TARDIS is like teetering on this precipice. The Doctor gets out and he goes, "Joe, come here." And he gets her out of the TARDIS just before the TARDIS falls over the cliff.
The TARDIS on the inside seems to be subjected to the gravity on the outside.
That is correct. It can be, yeah.
Except when it's in space, does it have like an artificial gravity? Because they don't float in the TARDIS.
Well, they can when the TARDIS is elsewhere. Especially in the modern stuff, the Doctor turns on the force field and turns on the security devices and turns on the artificial gravity.
You think you just have those on all the time?
Well, yes and no. There are times he doesn't have it on when it helps the plot. Like, remember in Marco Polo, the water condensation on the side of the TARDIS that saved them? Yeah.
It's interesting, the inner workings of the TARDIS.
Right. And the TARDIS is still, as it always has been, basically indestructible. It can be moved, it can be lifted, it can fall, it can do stuff like that. It can be captured and held and picked up by a helicopter, as we see later on.
And the Sensorites can burn the lock out of it. Was
that? That was a weird one. Yeah, but I guess he didn't put on the force field. This is the only time that ever happens. But generally speaking, it's indestructible.
Indestructible. What is it made out of? Tardanium? Turdacium?
We really never find out.
We don't really know the construction process, because the Time Lords build the TARDISes, right? The Tardai.
Well, the Daleks have what's called Dalekanium. Okay.
Yeah. And the Daleks have their own sort of time traveling machines.
Yes, they do. And the Doctor, the Time Lords, they don't have. I mean, they don't have any particular mineral or something named after them.
So the TARDIS is indestructible because of its force field, not because of the materials it's made of?
Not necessarily. It's indestructible in general. The force field helps, but the force field is not as strong as the TARDIS itself.
Do you think that's because of the material it's made out of, or because of like its relative positioning in time and space, that it just sort of develops a quality of indestructibility?
It's a combination of the TARDIS's intelligence. TARDIS actually is intelligent. And the TARDIS's own capabilities of regeneration and repair, combined with a bunch of defense mechanisms, and probably whatever the heck they make the TARDIS out of. So, yeah, there is one episode, many moons from now, where the TARDIS, it's sentient, essentially, where it inhabits the body of a woman.
Huh.
And...
Does the Doctor and the TARDIS get it on?
Do
they make TARDIS babies?
He always calls her sexy. And there's a heck of a lot of flirting and maybe a kiss or two. But they don't get it on. Huh?
Not on camera.
No, they don't get it on that. But no, actually, in this serial...
Is that where Time Lords come from?
Okay. Do you want the answer from the books or the answer from the show?
The new show, they're books?
There are a bunch of Doctor Who books.
Are the books canon?
I don't consider them canon because I just want to watch the show.
Okay.
But
that's kind of what happened with Star Wars. Is you had
but then they
the first trilogy,
canon.
The second trilogy, a long period of time where Lucas rested the franchise twice. There's 2 different periods.
And then the Disney crap.
Right, yeah. So during the hiatuses, writers, they licensed out the rights to it, and writers just went crazy. They wrote so much lore and background.
Yeah. But all that was jettisoned with Disney when they went back and...
That's the one decision that I don't necessarily disagree with because, you have to decanonize something so you have some sort of time frame to work with, because otherwise they explore the entire lineage of every character, and they wrote way in the future and way in the past. That's so the guy who made the Castlevania series, they made several games in the franchise, and he sat down and wrote a timeline for it, and he said that was the worst decision I ever made because now it's linear and it's down on paper, and there's only so much you can fit in that timeline.
Okay. Okay.
Because Dracula can only be... Never mind.
Because Dracula. Alright. So...
Speaking of which, this seemed like a very Dracula-esque serial. You have
it's only the main guy that looks
Stormy Castle, you have Hepish, which sounds like Tepish, which is the name of Vlad Dracula Tepish. You have...
Wait, Vlad the Impaler's name is Tepish?
Yeah, that's Dracula's last name. According to Castlevania.
Castlevania.
Not like Dracula lore, but like Castlevania lore, Dracula's name is Vlad.
What the heck is with Castlevania?
The Impaler, Vlad Dracula Tepish. I'm more of a video game person. When I think of Dracula,
alright,
I think of Castlevania.
In the stupid books, Time Lords are created by a loom.
A loom.
A loom. You know, a loom that
like
makes fabrics.
Plant. Oh!
No, it makes fabrics. A loom that you weave fabrics on. There's a DNA loom that weaves Time Lords.
Huh.
I've never read any of the books. I don't know this firsthand. This is all coming secondhand. But in the TV show, they never show how Time Lords are made. They never explain how Time Lords are made.
Except in the
whatsoever.
13th Doctor, they explain that Time Lords were made from harnessing the powers from the Doctor.
Yeah, we're not going there. That's not canon until it's enforced as canon. Right now, I think it's all lies told by the Master to the 13th Doctor, because the Master lies his ass off, even more so than the Doctor.
That's a good point.
And I'm running with that until the next series, and I pray it's not the case.
When's the next series coming out?
Late next year.
Late next year.
It's only going to be like 8 episodes because of the stupid-ass coronavirus.
8 episodes?
Yeah, it's just not much. I like the idea.
2 months of airtime.
I like the idea of less episodes for this particular Doctor and showrunner. I just want to get them out of there and get to the next guy who's going to hopefully fix everything.
Who do you think the next Doctor is going to be, actor-wise?
No clue. If the BBC admits the failure with Whittaker, it'll be a guy, and hopefully somebody like Hardy or somebody. But the BBC may be too woke to admit their failure, and they may go with another female.
Could the doctor regenerate as a child?
Okay. There's no evidence that can occur. The doctor usually regenerates younger, sometimes the same age. Okay, second doctor, right? Troughton regenerates to the third doctor, Pertwee, who is a year or two older than Troughton.
Who looks much older though.
But he's only a year or two older.
He's only 2 years older, but he's much more aged.
He looks so much more. But his physicality, especially in the cereal, he's incredibly spry.
Yeah. And then they get younger and younger.
Well, mostly the doctor gets younger. There's only one or two times like that where they regenerate older. Accepting the war doctor out of it because we don't
ages a man.
Well, we don't know exactly. Okay, it looks like the war doctor in the Night of the Doctor is younger than McGann when the regeneration happens. But of course, we only see the war doctor pretty much as older.
So we don't.
But yeah, generally speaking, the war doctor, the doctor regenerates into about the same age or younger. Because you have to do that with characters so they can be in the show for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And then you need another younger actor. Same thing happens with James Bond.
Right.
They pretty much always go younger because as much as Idris Elba would have been a fantastic Bond.
Yes.
He's about the same age as the current Bond. What's his name?
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig. And there's no way in the world. I mean, one of the reasons they retire is because they can't do all the physical stunts. You know, they can't keep up with the production schedule.
Love Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan. I Sean Connery. Oh me.
The thing that makes Bond though is the gadgets. Pierce Brosnan had the best gadgets. The supercars.
The thing that makes Bond, in my opinion, is the suave, the lady killer that Bond is. The ability to handle any situation.
Pierce Brosnan, baby.
Sean Connery. All right. This is a generational gap, right? Alright, I'm a generation up from you. Technically, maybe 2. What generation are you?
Millennial?
Then that would be 2. I'm Generation X.
I'm on the tail end of millennialism. But millennials has kind of become a catchphrase, a catch-all for younger people. So people are saying like high school, like...
I'm Generation X, okay? So's my wife. And how old are you?
25.
Okay, so I think generation's going about 15 to 18 years, although it seems it should be more like 20.
There's not like a standard though, it just like depends on which website you go to.
Right, it's all social stuff, but there's Generation Y, and the millennials are what they renamed Generation Z.
Now there's X and...
Y.
I think they're recycling Z or something.
Well, you're millennial. No, but it wasn't even X. You know what the X stood for?
10?
Yeah, the Roman numeral 10. We were the 10th generation since the founding of the country.
Oh.
So, and then it became X. We're going to fill it in later. And then it became Y and Z, just going from the letter, which was the Roman numeral 10.
The 10th generation since the founding of America is so like... Yeah. Generations are localized to... I didn't know millennial was strictly like an American thing.
It probably is.
Oh.
Well, I mean, there may be millennials all over the world, deep into their cell phones and can't get out and whatnot.
That's me.
But the social stuff that we're talking about is mostly based for America.
Do you subscribe to the ideology?
Okay, ideology works.
Hard times breed strong men. Strong men breed good times. Good times breed weak men. Weak men breed hard
strong times. Yeah.
So it kind of creates this cycle of weak generation,
pretty
strong
much,
generation,
yeah.
weak generation, strong generation.
Although I think it takes I think it takes about 3 or 4 generations.
So it's a slow
it's
cycle.
a slightly slow process, but it's the same cycle.
Because I look at my ancestors, We're way more hardcore. Like,
right. Well, you look
war
at
veterans, World War II.
right. Look at my grandfather, World War II. You know, had it really hard, really rough.
My generation is like
You're cream puffs.
first world problem.
Yeah, you're cream. But
my
then,
internet is slow.
but then you get my dad's stuff, which is Korean, Vietnam from my uncle. My uncle was in Vietnam, and then you get my generation, which had it so much better. We had the Cold War, but it ended when I was still relatively young, 22, 23. And then this generation, then you have Y, and then you have your millennials. But I mean, you guys have it so good that it's insane, and you'll have it so good you're willing to believe in socialism, which will crash everything and make everything bad again, and go there. Yeah.
So you're like right on the renaissance of the.
I'm at the tail end of the hard stuff, the beginning of the good stuff. I'm right in that cusp.
The climax.
Oh, the cusp, the transition.
You're where you're the good one.
Thank you.
You're the generation to be.
I can agree with that, actually. I can agree with that.
However, I do love technology. The later I was born, the better, because it just keeps getting better.
Well,
Technology. That's the only thing. Nothing else is getting better. Just technology.
Can we talk about Doctor Who?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So they land on a planet. They get out of the TARDIS just before it falls off a cliff. Joe's worried about it being destroyed, like smashing to pieces. Doctor's like, no, it's
dressed up in
indestructible.
her date wear for Mike
Oh yeah, she was
Yates.
going out with Corporal, Captain
Mike Yates?
Captain Yates. Yeah, she was gonna go out with Captain Yates, so she has fancy curls. I love her hair in this, and she has a really nice dress. I love that too. Heels, which is not good for mountaineering, but. The doctor's like, well, we can't climb down, it's too far, but there seems to be a castle up there. Oh, before they show up, there's like a 5-minute prologue
I didn't think it was that long.
with the King of Peladon.
Yeah, we got Peladon. They're having this intergalactic planetary conference.
Right.
Which, by the way, we're the Daleks. We have the Ice Warriors. We have the Eyeball People. We have
Alpha Centauri. They're just called
Alpha Centauris. That's not specifically that one's name. Like their species is Alpha Centauri.
Right, but that one is just referred to as Alpha Centauri.
Ah, okay. And then we have the practically a Dalek thing. It's like a more
it's a head in a jar on top of some sort of robot-esque thing.
It's kind of what you imagine a Dalek would look like, with like the deformed tentacles and.
No, it's more of a head.
It's more of a head, and it gushes out slime, and it's in this transparent glass dome because it still has eyeballs that work. But it has like the Dalek scooter life support mobile thing.
Yeah.
And even like a Dalek weaponry.
Well, the Daleks have the suction cup.
They do have
and
the
then
suction
they
cup
have the whisk, which is the shooter. This just has a suction cup, but it turns out to be the weapon.
Yeah. So it's almost like a Dalek, but it's a Octorus. We don't know what race that is.
So,
so I guess the Daleks didn't want to come to peaceful planetary.
Right. So there's this conference that's been heavily debated on the planet as to whether they should join the Galactic Federation, which is a lot like the Star Trek one, right?
I don't really follow Star Trek.
Okay. Good for you. All right. Like the Star Trek Federation, or whether they should remain out.
There's a Star Wars Federation.
Yeah, we're not talking about Star Wars. All right. Cool. All right. So, Hector, what's his name? Hepshat?
Hepish.
Hepish.
It's like
Hepish wants to keep them out of the Federation.
Tipish, Vlad Tipish.
Right, and
With an H.
what's his name wants to keep in the
Hippish.
Federation? What was it? Wants to join the Federation. What was his name?
The king?
No.
Peladon?
No, the king's advisor.
Hepish was the high priest. The advisor was Torbus.
Taurus. Okay. So they're arguing in the throne room, but the matter's already been decided. They're going to join if they can. So all the delegates are there except the one from Earth. The Doctor and Joe Grant manage to get up the mountain far enough. They finally find a cave. The cave leads into a series of tunnels underneath the citadel.
Any, mini, miny, mo.
Yeah, they're like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And they hear a beast off to the side. They go, meeny. We're not going down eeny, meeny, miny, or mo. Yeah. So they eventually find their way into the citadel through secret passages underneath it with the what's it called?
Candelabra thing?
No, the torches.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a word for word for the thing that holds a torch. Escond?
I don't know.
Hold on.
This is why we need to bring our phones with us.
No.
I was so close to buying a tablet to like take notes and then like look up things about the show.
Mm-hmm. You don't do that.
No, that's great.
Ensconced.
Ensconced.
Okay, so
Ensconced.
Right. The torches are ensconced, but if you move it, then it will open the secret door.
Put the candle back.
Yeah, ensconced can also be for a person who is solidly in a place.
Young Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Ensconced. Those are ensconces. So, bio break. Be right back.
BRB.
Yeah. You can. Alright. Turn off the light in the living room, would you please? Alright. So, the Doctor and Joe get captured by the local warriors, local guards, and they get taken into the throne room, which is not a very impressive throne room. The sets on this some of them are pretty good, but most of them are kind of They get taken to the throne room where the King of Peladon goes, "Oh, you must be the Earth delegates," because obviously Joe's an Earthling and the Doctor looks like an Earthling. That goes, yeah, sure. So they get mistaken for the Earth delegation for this conference. Because apparently the King of Peladon's mother was an Earthling. And obviously she could breed with this Peladonish race, which looked just like Earthlings. None of the other races involved look like Earthlings at all, just Earthlings and Peladons. Although the Peladons have a really interesting, their hair. It's white everywhere else and then red down the middle. And their beards, kind of like mine, I've got this dark streak here. But their beards are white, but they have red streaks here and here. Very distinctive, and I like the look. So anyway, they get taken in there, they get mistaken for the Earth delegation, and they ask if Joe is royalty. Because only men of rank, which includes all the males in the delegation, because they have ranks of ambassador, and females of royalty, which is interesting. It's a very old-fashioned division of the genders there. Only women of royalty can enter the throne room, otherwise it's death. And they're just like, what? Because Joe's with the Doctor. And Joe steps up to the plate beautifully. I mean, just amazingly. This is the best she's been thus far. As a companion, as an individual. She steps up and goes, "I don't speak through intermediaries. Introduce me to the king." And she plays royalty beautifully. And she manages to get away with it. Partly due to the fancy dress she's wearing, partly due to the hair she had done to go out with Captain Yates. And she understands the situation and demeans the appropriate attitude immediately. It's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Like I said, probably the best year we've seen her in thus far. Although I've seen all of her future ones, and I don't think there's any she's better in, but maybe almost as good. Some others later. but this one is she's just fantastic. So she suddenly exudes a presence, and they get treated as the Doctor being the ambassador, and she allowed to be there as a royal observer. They're supposed to present credentials, but the Doctor stated that his space shuttle, obviously the 70s, the US space shuttle was a big thing, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, decommissioned in the noughts, I believe, by President Obama, I think, maybe Bush Jr., I don't remember which one, but it was a big thing for a long time. But anyway, he says it crashed, and they go, well, can you deliver your credentials? He says, well, we lost everything when the ship crashed down the mountain. So that buys him the way in without having to present credentials. And earlier on, we had seen Alpha Centauri or the Ice Warriors, one of the two, present their credentials. We know the Ice Warriors from before, and Alpha Centauri is this big green head with an eye, one big giant monocular eye, and 4 hands, so 2 feet and 4 hands, kind of weird. So the Doctor and Jo Grant get in. The King of Peladon is a handsome young man. He takes a shine to Jo Grant, who's a pretty young lady. They're both royalty. Well, supposedly, not in her case, but so he takes a real shining to her. She is pretty, and his mother was human. This is apparently far in the future, where the human race has interacted a lot with other planets. So he really takes a shining to her, and he likes her. He can talk to her as a man or an individual, as opposed to a king. So anyway, right about then, the one advisor is killed by the creature Agrodon or whatever, and the delegation for the conference thinking about calling it off. And that's when, of course, the Doctor and Jo Grant show up. So kind of backtracking a little bit there. So I think we're getting to episode 2. The Doctor and Jo Grant, because the Doctor supposedly is the Earth delegation, is the head of the conference. He decides not to call off the conference because he wants the capability for the king to show why they should enter. Yeah. So
during, how are we doing on the plot? Did I let you?
I think we're at the beginning of episode 2.
It's 2.
What?
That's not very far.
You keep distracting us.
I wasn't here the whole time.
I was going over the plot that we should have gone over while you were here.
Well, alright, zombie apocalypse, right?
No.
The only thing within reach are your fire pokers. You got the broom, the pincher, the hook, and the shovel, right? Which one do you grab for the zombie?
Yeah, you grab the poker.
The poker, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's got that nice hook in it, which you use to open and close the flue. That's why there's a hole in the handle for the flue. And that, a nice weapon into the head.
What if it gets lodged in the skull and you can't?
Speaking of lodged, the Doctor's halberd gets lodged. No, the Grun's halberd gets lodged later on.
Grun. Grun.
Right, because they couldn't afford the tea. Alright. So,
do you know tea is the slang for gossip now? Spill the tea. You got any hot tea? Got some cold tea.
Really?
Yeah. That's what they call gossiping.
Okay.
What's the tea? T-E-A.
Yeah, T-E-A, yeah.
Not the letter T.
Or TE.
Legging glove.
Exactly.
That's too manly.
Okay, so...
Mendo gossip.
Alright, so...
Did men gossip? Men don't
what?
gossip.
Men can gossip. I mean, we can gossip just like women. I think we generally don't.
It's not really
a male trait.
Yeah.
And we can, and some men do. But it's less of a male thing
I'd
than
rather
a female thing.
insult you directly to your face than talk about you behind your back.
Sounds great, you ugly toad. Alright.
Old man.
Mm-hmm. You're only as old as the woman you feel.
I have no age. I'm immortal.
You'll get there eventually. Alright. So I'm 51. Alright. Okay. There you go. Alright, so the doctor, as the delegation of ambassadors is leaving the throne room to decide whether or not they should, stop the conference, or whether they should even try to let the Peladons in, considering one of the Peladons was murdered by Agradon. What's his name?
Hippish murdered.
No. This was actually murdered by the Beast.
Arctor. Oh yeah, Agador.
Agador. The doctor takes him, and they're leaving, and there's a guy, Grun, who is just big. I mean, he looks like 6'8" or so. 6'10". He is obviously had his tongue pulled out. He can't talk. He can't speak.
Some sort of speech impediment.
No. I think he's got his tongue cut out. So
maybe he's deaf. Maybe he was born deaf, like Helen Keller. She had her tongue. She couldn't talk.
I don't think it's the case with him. He seems like it was cut out to keep state secrets or something. But anyway, so he takes...
so dark.
Well, that's what they used to do.
They are a primitive planet. Barbaric planet?
Barbaric is what? Alpha Centauri keeps calling them barbaric, and that's the only thing I don't like about him, her, it. Whatever.
Me too, but I also kind of agree. They were true.
So, he pushes the granite statue. He's going to destroy the delegation. The doctor statue. Well, yeah, it looks like it looks like the statue in Cerebus, the aardvark, which is about it. I need to show that to you because it looks just like that statue.
I added Clerks to the list. I didn't add.
Yeah, we had Clerks and Clerks 2.
And what else? Aardvark?
No, Cerebus the aardvark's a comic.
Like a comic book comic?
Yeah.
Huh.
I like comic book comics.
Do you read comics?
I read Cerebus. I don't read much else. Well, I read Cerebus. Well, I read it every once in a while. Like every decade or so, I'll revisit it. And read it through again. But it's been done for a while.
How does my upside down handwriting look? Is that legible?
Yes, except that the one S looks like a 5. Yeah, it should be Clerks 2. Alright. So he's dropping this giant granite statue on them, and the doctor sees it falling and pushes all of the ambassadors out of the way. Saves up their lives. Turns out...
Can you write upside down? Had to write your name upside down.
What?
Write your name upside down.
We got the podcast.
But for the viewers at home, you gotta write your name upside down. This is a dyslexia
Why the hell are we doing this?
Because next you're gonna write it backwards. You gotta write it back. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Well, that's all capitals. It's harder to do lower cases. Write it backwards.
Backwards.
Yeah, we're gonna have a contest.
But right side up or upside down?
Right side up, but backwards. Yeah, and we're gonna compare our ambidextrous. Ooh, and then left-handed.
Not left-handed.
I need a mirror to look at this one. That looks pretty good, though.
Thank you. All right. There was a U.S. president that could write in Greek and Latin at the same time with different
both
hands.
Yeah. Who was that?
Adams?
And
I think, maybe?
I think you're right. Yeah, dude, he was
I mean, that was a beast, you know?
No, I'm thinking of Andrew Jackson.
God, screw Andrew Jackson. Well,
he did some things pretty, like the whole banking. Wait, no. He was the one that wanted the. I don't know.
I always mix up Jackson and Johnson. Andrew Jackson, Andrew Johnson. Which
Andrew
one was
Jackson.
the Trail of Tears? I forget.
Not Andrew Jackson?
So it was Johnson? Then screw Andrew Johnson.
I don't know.
Trail of Tears guy.
That might have been Andrew Jackson.
I don't remember. We've been
bad at this.
Okay.
Have to drink.
Okay, so this should have been 5 episodes. It shouldn't have been 4. There's a lot going on. Just when we thought they got the pacing right, but they've gone away from odd-numbered serials. So then the Doctor and Joe Grant, or Princess Josephine of TARDIS, as he introduced her, they go off and they go to their rooms, and then they hear a siren, an alarm, and it's, what's his name? The weird thing, the face in the jar on the pedestal?
Arcturus.
Arcturus. It turns out that Arcturus had part of his mechanisms removed, and his alarm is going off. So the Doctor rewires him and fixes this. And then the Hector, what's his name?
Hippish. Tippish with an H.
Right. Heppish shows up with the Ice Warriors, and the Doctor's like, they're Ice Warriors, they're bad. Heppish shows up with the Ice Warriors, and they're like, well, wait a second, what are you doing? You trying to kill him? The Doctor's like, no, I'm trying to save him. The Ice Warriors are like, well, that's pretty good. Cool.
I'm gonna try to do left-handed now. I don't even know how to function with my left hand.
Why are we doing this with the podcast?
As soon as I put something in my left hand, my brain stops to function.
Why are we doing this during the podcast?
It's a game.
Okay.
We did the baby or car.
You are really trying to see how long this battery lasts, aren't you?
No, it's not that long. It's gonna be 2 hours.
Okay.
We only have 4 episodes, so we have to have some filler.
We don't need filler.
Another drink.
As do you. Okay. So,
this is what happens when we go a whole week and I haven't talked to you. We need a subsidiary off-topic podcast.
true. Probably true.
Then we can do just Doctor without getting off track.
Yeah.
Right, here goes the left hand. I'm just doing this. I'm doing this off.
Okay.
You do the plot.
So the Doctor suspects the Ice Warriors because he knows it's going to be bad. The Ice Warriors suspect the Doctor because they found him trying to fix
Ice Warriors bad.
Arcturus.
Do we have what do you call it? An example, a showplace of the Doctor being racist? He made an assumption based on the Ice Warriors' race.
Yes.
History. The Doctor is racist. That's the conclusion.
Well, to be fair, it's technically correct. Well, he's not racist in general.
My argument is that he didn't make a judgment based on their race, rather their society, because humans have many societies. So when you base a judgment off of a person based on their skin color, it's racism. Versus if all of humanity was united under one society, you would judge humans as a species rather than, so the Doctor made a judgment based on the fact that the Ice Warriors were a society of warriors, which he had not yet realized that they had transformed into a peaceful society of ice.
Okay, if you judge people, okay, there are stereotypes for a reason. If you think that many Italians are going to do certain things because they're Italian, well, that's a stereotype and it exists for a reason. If you think a particular individual Italian is going to do something because he's Italian, that's when you get into racism. When you get into, he's got to be this way because that's who he is. You have to give the individual the chance to show you or determine that. And in this case, to be fair, the Doctor did not. But the Doctor had not encountered any Ice Warriors that were good, which is actually really interesting because the Ice Warriors in this turn out to be good guys. Which is really cool.
Favorite character developments was the Ice Warriors.
Correct. And it's really cool. They don't do this very often, but the previous bad guys in this serial are good guys.
I now love the Ice Warriors. They were one of the coolest.
There's a lot of other times they're bad guys, don't worry. But we don't know how far this is in the future. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely in the future.
Apparently further than... Because they're like a peaceful society now, apparently.
Not only that, but humans are part of a galactic federation and have met Peladorians and have at least mated with them a little bit. So
this might be around the time frame of the... Who was it? The Guardian? The Galaxy Guardian dude? With the Daleks' master plan? It might have been like slightly before that.
I was like, you haven't seen the White and the Black Guardians yet.
No.
You're talking about...
The Guardian of the Galaxy. What was his name? What was he called? What was his title? The Daleks' Master Plan. The Daleks' Master Plan. I think it was the Guardian. It was the Daleks' Master Plan.
The Guardian of the Solar System or something.
Yeah. So the Daleks' Master Plan was the humans were in this galactic federation with the Daleks and several other species. So this might have predated that.
No, I don't think they were in it with the Daleks. I think
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It might have predated it.
Okay, so they were with other species, but different species than we see here. Uh-huh. None of these species here are represented there. So we don't know.
To be fair, did it name all the species in the Daleks' Master Plan?
I think so, but find out what that guy's name was. Who's on the Daleks' Master Plan?
The Guardian? Yeah. His title?
Yeah. No, his name.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so... he was really good. I can't wait till they animate that.
Which notepad was that?
The first one, I think.
It was, the yellow one.
Okay, so...
This is why we need... This is why I need to get a tablet. So I can, like... search by keywords or something.
No. We're low tech here, except for the camera.
High tech camera.
High tech camera.
High tech camera.
Okay. So anyway, Joe goes off while the Doctor is saving Arcturus.
What serial is the Daleks' Master? What number is that? I'll find it.
30.
You cover the plot. I'll
All right.
Planet of Giants, movie list. I'll find it. Daleks Invasion of Earth.
21. Serial 21.
I don't even have these numbers.
Okay. So, you should number them.
I really should.
Okay, so...
I'll do that.
Joe goes off and searches the various diplomats' rooms to see if they have the piece of equipment that was taken from Arcturus in order to try and mess with him. She finds it in the Ice Warriors room, but she gets caught by the Ice Warriors returning. She literally hides behind a tapestry, and one of the Ice Warriors hears her clear her throat or cough.
And then her toes are sticking out from the curtain. She goes...
It is pretty bad. So anyway, they catch her, and they're like, "Princess, what are you doing here?" She says, "Well, I found this in your room." They said, "That's not ours. We don't know where that came from." And she's like, "What?" And he says, "Look, this control box would not really kill Arcturus." And Joe's like, "Well, wait a minute. what would kill him? And they're like, well, you would have to do this, this, and this. And she's like, so you know how to kill him, but you didn't. They're saying, yes. So do the Earthlings like yourself. So do Alpha Centaurians, etc. The only people who wouldn't would be the local people. She says, well, maybe I've misjudged you. So they keep her in the room while they're thinking about what to do with her because she was snooping around the room. She goes out a window, escapes, climbs to another window, comes back into the Citadel, all in that horrible wind and atmosphere, the horribleness they have on Peladon. The only crop thing they can grow are potatoes.
Probably. Even potatoes need some
sunlight. Yeah.
Well, after their soil, it was Chin was the guardian.
Chin yes,
the guardian.
yes. Very oriental-looking guy.
Guardian of the solar system was his official title.
Chin, but he had the white face and the white beard,
the
sort of, but
thing.
dark face. I think he was supposed to basically represent all of mankind's nations.
Maybe even beyond Earth. He's like sort of the elect of the galactic concept.
Right, I mean racially. Racially, his name is Chin, which is kind of, Asian, Oriental. He had the tall bearing of a European or a Viking, but his face was also black. So this may have been because of the black and white. It was sort of an amalgamation of all of mankind.
The human race.
Yeah, the human race.
Do you think that will eventually happen? Is that all races will eventually just sort of
in theory, we'll all in America we're mutts. We have every single heritage possible, and in the end, we're mutts. Some people may be mostly European, some people may be mostly Asian, but in general, it's just one big giant ass mixture, and it continues to become that more and more as time goes on. Most cultures will eventually be that way, except certain indigenous peoples like the Aborigines or the American Indians, and possibly Japan.
And I think biologically, it makes sense that eventually all races will sort of
merge.
Interracially merge and marry and have offspring and the skin colors will kind of normalize in like society, but societarily, that makes sense biologically, but in practice it doesn't really happen because people are kind of tribal and they
to be fair
marry familiar types of
to be fair,
kind of sticky.
You as a male are going to be more or less attracted to what your mother was. As a female, you'll be more or less attracted to what your father was. But no, that's to be fair.
That's like what was the guy who
Freud.
That's
Sigmund Freud. Very Freudian, but no.
A lot of Sigmund Freuds.
But there are people who don't do that. There are people who are attracted to very different people, and who cares? Let them do that. I don't care. You don't care. He doesn't care. We just don't care. All that went out the window last century. Leave last century alone. We're good in this century. I'm so sick of people who still think that matter, because it doesn't matter. Nobody cares anymore. All right, enough.
The individual is only judged on
the content of their character, right? Not the color of their skin or their gender or any other thing they choose to do. You need a drink.
Okay.
Enjoy. This drink. Yeah.
I'm stealing some ice.
Alright, so
transfer of
boop. Yeah, I've got some ice there too. Okay, so the doctor. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot where we were.
I think we're in episode 3. Let me.
Okay, so you find out that Hector Hepish is very much a bad guy. He's trying to convince the king not to join the Federation. He convinces Grun to kill the doctor.
I still haven't my name left-handed yet.
Right, so Grun leads the doctor into the caves where Agador, what's his name?
Agadon?
Agadon?
Agador. Yeah.
Agador. Where Agador is.
I don't know why I want to say Agadon. Agadon's the planet? Peladon is the planet.
Peladon's the planet.
Agador's the god. Agador and Peladon.
Alright. So he leads he leads the doctor into these tunnels where the doctor's already been with Joe, and the doctor encounters the beast. In the meantime, the doctor had turned his sonic screwdriver into a hypnotizing device with a little mirror on it with the light.
Supposedly,
empathy device. And the doctor's trying to.
That's left hand.
That's pretty good. You want me to write my name left hand?
Left hand. Empathy device. Supposedly the sonic screwdriver. I like to think it's the sonic screwdriver. We don't really know what it was.
Well, it looks like the sonic screwdriver, and it emits a sound, which means it's
lowercase.
What is your fascination with lowercase?
Capital letters are easier. You can capitalize H. Everything else has to be lowercase. Those are the rules, Hatter. I don't make the rules.
You talking about? You're making the rules right now. Alright. So the doctor encounters the beast.
We're gonna have the viewers vote.
What?
Oh, leave your
I'm
vote.
good right-handed. I'm not good left.
Leave your vote in the comments. All right. So we got. We're gonna go left-handed. Mine. This is Hatter's left-handed. Right. So
Show me upside down. I'm pretty good with that one.
You probably won that one. All right. Here's upside down. This is Hatter's. This was mine. So upside down. So vote on who did better. And then backwards, we have these. Hatter's backwards. You have to mirror that. So let us know in the comments below. Winner gets a satchel of bananas.
A satchel of bananas?
Courtesy of our sponsor, Dole.
We don't have a sponsor.
I'll sponsor this episode.
I don't want bananas. I hate bananas. Okay.
Potassium.
The taste,
you get
the texture,
cramps.
Everything. I do not like bananas.
What if you get a cramp?
I take
multivitamin.
I take a multivitamin.
Centrum Silver.
Right, Centrum Silver. We mentioned this earlier because I'm in my 50s. Thank you very much. All right, so
do you know what multivitamin I take?
Alcohol.
Pretty much.
That or the Flintstone vitamins. Okay. So, alright. So Joe shows up and tries to help the doctor with the beast. She brings a torch, she runs the beast off. Right as the doctor's singing a Venusian lullaby. What was the lullaby? Well, it sounds exactly like,
where'd my mixer go?
Right down here.
Oh, there it is.
What was it? God rest ye, Mary Jane?
Yeah. That was it. But in an alien language.
Right. Like, that kind of thing. It's weird combination of Gaelic and English or whatever. But supposedly Venusian lullaby. And he's singing this to Monster, and he almost has it under hypnosis. And Joe Grant runs in and runs the monster off.
Why do you say that? Why is supposedly Venusian?
He says Venusian.
He does?
Yeah, he says Venusian lullaby.
So what is it with Pertwee and Venusian things? Venusian Kung Fu?
Apparently he's been to Venus, but we never see it. I don't know why the doctor's been to Venus, but we haven't seen it.
But specifically just Pertwee, right? No other doctors really...
No other doctor focuses on Venusian the way Pertwee does. You are correct. He is monoptic of it.
Strange Adventures. Do you think we'll ever get a prequel to The War Doctor?
Yeah,
McGann. Because we only had him for like one
McGann was
special.
McGann was in one TV movie and one small special for the 50th.
As an old person, like.
McGann was not incredibly old in either one, and he looked good. He looked good in both of them. Younger good, and then slightly middle-aged good. Well, reasonably middle-aged good, but he looked good in both of them.
He has a trench coat, which makes him my favorite, style-wise.
Several of the doctors
Nothing's cool.
wear trench coats.
This is like a very Matrix-esque leather trench coat.
Right, that's Eccleston, and
McGann's trench coat is cool, though.
Oh, no,
it's like
McGann had a proper coat right there.
Like a steampunk. What? Who?
Okay.
That's
second guy
that's
down.
a peacoat.
No, second guy down. Him.
That's not the War Doctor.
He changes into the War Doctor.
Right.
The War Doctor's not there. The War Doctor is John Hurt.
Has an awesome wardrobe.
Right. Which is basically Eccleston's.
Oh. But more steampunk.
Slightly, maybe. Have you seen him?
He's on your screensaver. He's the Gwimbolo channel art when you click on the channel.
You sure?
Yeah. You click on your YouTube channel, like you have your user icon, which is the fleur-de-lis, and then what do you call that? The title art, like the background.
Oh, he may be on there, yeah.
Yeah, is the same as your screensaver on your computer, is like all the doctors.
Yeah, up to Capaldi, which would include the War Doctor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So Joe thinks she's saving the Doctor. She's not. The monster.
Makes everything worse.
Yeah, the Curse of Peladon runs off. Doctor's like, I was just almost getting to him, and she's like, you weren't talking to him. He's like, no, empathy, hypnosis, empathy. Drink some of that. It's almost overflowing. So then they go back into the conference. The Doctor and Joe get separated. The Doctor ends up back trying to find his way out of the tunnels, and he winds up in their sacrificial chamber, their altar of altars for their religion.
I think it's kind of a callback in this serial, how the Doctor is connecting to Agador through the psychic kinetic energy of empathy. Is kind of, it reminded me of the Damon's episode where he talks about psychic kinetic energy of emotions, and how like negative emotions have a certain...
Correct. And the Sensorites, where Susan had a connection.
So that kind of plays into the sci-fi fantasy of the trope that like humans possess this sort of latent ability of psychic kinetic energy that they can't really harness because their brains aren't evolved enough. But if humanity were to some way reach their potential, we'd have like psychokinetic abilities.
Yeah, Scanners is on our movie list, right?
Is that a plot point to Scanners?
Kind of.
First, I gotta find a movie. Oh, here it is.
I think we put it on there a few weeks ago.
There's more than one page to the movie list now. Or is there? I'll catch up with you.
Okay, so the Doctor ends up in the Holy of Holies of their religion.
Making his way out of it.
So, Hepish catches him and says, "Hey, Grun, we gotta take him to the king. He defiled this place. It's sacrilege." The king's like, "I'm sorry, I'm kind of stuck." And the king had proposed to Joe. Joe rejected him. She likes him, but she rejected him.
Did you talk about How she thought he was just looking to use her for a political...
No, not about to. Because she rejected him because she thought he was attempting to use her to join the Federation. And it was because the conversation moved from the sacrifice... Well, no, it's about to happen. He has to condemn the Doctor to death. But he says, the Doctor, you can do challenge by combat with the King's Champion, which is Grun. And then he talks to Joe, and he says, well, I'm sorry I had to do this, but I could be a stronger king if I had somebody by my side. And he proposes to Joe, and she's like, what? From her point of view, and from the rational person's point of view, it looks like he's saying, I can save your doctor if you marry me and ally our two planets. And Joe rejects him because that's what it seems like he's saying, even though he's not necessarily saying that because he doesn't believe he's saying that. And we believe he's in earnest and honest. So,
Scanners is not on the movie list.
Put Scanners on the movie list. All right. So next time we meet, which will not be next week, but the week after, because I have family coming in next week, holidays and all that, we'll be watching a movie as opposed to Doctor Who, and we will do some new heroes and villains Doctor Who stuff.
Do you like the intro?
Well, yeah, you gotta send it to me on email. And we'll do the new heroes and villains after the movie, which is what we're gonna do. The weeks we watch movies, like we have been doing, we're now gonna do heroes and villains because we've already gone through these people, and we'll talk about them after the movies.
Mm-hmm. Like Salamander.
Good.
What year did Scanners come out?
77? 1977, maybe?
What genre is that? Is that a comedy? Sci-fi?
Sci-fi horror.
So like Invasion.
Well, sci-fi thriller.
Body Snatchers.
Yeah, it's kind of in that same vein. Sci-fi thriller.
Thriller.
Okay, so the Doctor's resigned to fighting combat in order to save his skin.
Like Game of Thrones.
Dude, that's the very end of episode 2. There should have been 5 episodes, not 4.
That's the end of episode
2.
Yep.
2. So the Doctor's put in his room, and Hepish tells him, hey, guess what? There's no guard. Here's the escape route. Hepish actually draws him an escape route. The Doctor's like, well, you're going to kill me trying to escape, right? And Hepish's like, no.
Yes.
That would bring down the Federation on us. We don't want that to happen. I want you to actually escape. You can make it to your TARDIS or to your space shuttle and get out of here. In the meantime, the Council is still trying to figure out what to do. The Ice Warriors vote to stay, whereas everyone else votes to leave.
The Ice.
Huh?
The Ice.
They're no longer warriors. Yeah, the Ice Warriors. So they decide to stay. Joe Grant is amazed by this.
Princess Josephine.
So anyway. Okay. See you in a minute. Or 12. Alright. So anyway, Joe Grant says, okay, thank you very much. The Ice Warriors are like, we want to help the Doctor. So, but the Doctor escapes anyway because there's no guard at the door. The door's unlocked, thanks to Hepish. So he escapes, but he's not trying to actually get out of the Citadel. He's trying to find the Beast again. And while he's out there, the Ice Warriors go to his room and say, hey, we're going to help him, but he's already escaped. The Doctor gets caught again. No, he doesn't get caught. The Doctor's running around, and he bumps into Joe Grant. Because Grun tries to lead him astray, and at the same time Joe Grant's there, and monsters threatening Joe, and the Doctor saves Joel from the monster and all that. And then the king is there, and they're like, well, the doctor escaped. And so the king's like, well, Hepesh is like, well, he's guilty if he tried to escape. And then the other members of the council are like, well, maybe. And then the doctor shows up and says, sorry to disappoint you, I didn't try to escape, I'm here. So they're like, well, you've got to fight. So they put Grun, like I said, about 6'8" or so, and the doctor into this pit. And they fight it out with halberds, of all things. It's very much Thunderdome, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. And the doctor, thanks to his immaculate skill in Venusian Kung Fu or Aikido or whatever, and several other skills, manages to defeat Grun, amazingly. He says, Grun, you shall live. And then Arcturus puts out his weapon in this suction cup thing and starts firing on the doctor. Episode ends. Episode 4, and all this happens in a really short time frame, maybe 45 seconds. In episode 4, you find out the Ice Warriors kill Arcturus because they see him about to fire on the doctor. Arcturus is dead. The Ice Warriors actually are good guys. And it turns out it was Arcturus and Hepesh the whole time. Hepesh and his guard exit stage left. And the doctor's like, okay, let me out of this pit. But of course he left Gordon alive. They get out there and he's talking to the king. He's like, look, it was Hepesh and Arcturus the whole time. They were plotting for these different reasons. Hepesh because he actually believed he would be enslaved. Arcturus because he didn't want an alliance between Earth and Peladon. And the king's like, well, what's going to happen now? And then Arcturus escaped into the catacombs, into the tunnels, the caves. And he rallies his men and they have a palace coup. They then basically depose the king, not quite, but they hold him at sword point. And Hepesh is like, well, yep, if you stick with our old traditions, you can remain alive. If you don't, you will die. So then the Joe Grant and all the other diplomats are then led into the throne room and showing that Hepesh has the prince literally at sword point saying, we will kill him if you don't come. And they show up and the doctor's like, well, wait a second. I can show you that your god is, just a beast. It's just for naught. And he leads Agador, the Earth Bigborn.
Agador answers to me.
Right, he leads Agador into the throne room. And Hepesh is like, well, Agador answers to me, I'm your high priest. And the daughters are like, no, he's just a beast. So the high priest, Hepesh, says, Agador, kill him, and points to the doctor. And Agador decides not to kill the doctor because the doctor's been a friend to him and they have become very acquainted and friendly.
Through means of
hypnotism / empathy. Remember the empathy part. And then Agador stabs the high priest, Hepesh. And then the doctor gets him to calm down and they leave. In the meantime, well, Hepesh dies. Yay, the bad guy's dead. The last of the bad guys are dead. And what's our king's name?
Peladon.
No, the King of Peladon. What's his name?
His name is Peladon.
No,
Peladon, King of Peladon.
No, it's like Peladon.
It is. That's what they call him. You are a Peladon. It's like a family line. And then you are Peladon, King of Peladon.
Okay, we'll roll with that. Anyway, Peladon is actually played by...
Peladon. I wrote it down.
Peladon is actually played by the son of Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor. The second Doctor, who's in this serial with the third Doctor.
I love Troughton.
Really cool.
Troughton's my favorite Doctor.
Thus far.
Pertwee's sneaking up on him.
Pertwee's good.
Pertwee's now my favorite.
Who's your favorite?
Second favorite, sorry. Troughton's my favorite. It used to be Hartnell, then Pertwee. Now it's Pertwee Hartnell. After Troughton.
Troughton's my
second favorite.
Second favorite, yeah. Alright. Tom Baker.
Haven't seen it.
Troughton.
Seen it.
Tennant.
Haven't seen it.
You will see Tom Baker soon and Tennant much later. That's Tennant, yeah. Alright, so...
Isn't he also, what else is he in? Does he play Sherlock Holmes?
No, but he is in Harry Potter.
He is in Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
He's in something else. I don't know what I recognize him from.
All Creatures Big and Small? No, wait.
No.
That wasn't him. That was Davison.
Maybe I just recognize him from Doctor Who. I don't know. He plays like the weird toad guy in Harry Potter. That.
Well, the guy who wasn't that guy, he was some other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, are
you a big fan of Harry Potter? Do you follow?
I like Harry Potter. I actually like the movies better than the books. I've read all the books, I've seen all the movies.
J.K. Rowling just came out with Ichabod, another book.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in the Harry Potter universe, but...
I don't care, I just like Harry Potter. I'm not following J.K. Rowling.
It's not selling well. Our store got 100 copies of it. And it came out a few weeks ago, and we still have 95 copies.
Where do you work?
Target,
okay.
Yeah.
It's about Ichabod Crane, right?
That's what I thought. I actually have no idea. I'm like, Ichabod Crane.
I mean,
What about...
It doesn't matter. She's one of the richest people in the world because of Harry Potter.
Yeah. I don't know if it's COVID or her recent... there's like people got upset about her viewpoints or something.
Oh, the left got really upset because she only believes there's two genders. Which is scientifically factual.
She says something about
there's only two.
You don't know what it's like to be a woman if you can't have a period. And people got real upset.
Well, yeah, because these men believe in they're women, when they're not women.
How do you feel about Fantastic Beasts and where to find them? Because that's also in the Harry Potter.
I saw the first movie. Didn't really care for it. I haven't watched the second or any subsequent movies. Saw the first one, thought it was okay, but it really lacked the magic that made Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. The Harry Potter movies are magical.
Okay.
They are fantastic, and the movie with the Beasts is just not as good. Fantastic
Beasts and Where to Find Them is to Harry Potter as is the new Hobbit to the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Agreed.
Just no contest.
It's a subsequent attempt to capitalize on what happened before. It was really good, but now it's no longer as good.
It's like the Oz Great and Powerful versus the Wizard of Oz.
With the what powerful?
Oz the Great and the Powerful was a movie they made with
I saw it.
James Franco, which was a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, which was just awful.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. Alright.
And Jackie from That 70s Show?
Yeah.
What was her name?
She's really good in some movies, like Black Swan and Bad Moms. God, I love Bad Moms. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen the Black Swan either. Is that on the movie
Write
list?
them both on the list. Black Swan and Bad Moms. Oh, and Bad Moms too. Right. Okay, we're going to be doing movies for a while, and we're going to have the heroes and villains for a while as a thing after the movies.
That's the pin.
It'll slow us down a bit on our Doctor Who, but we're going to do
Where'd
it.
the pins go? Oh, there's one.
Dude, I don't know. I have no idea what you keep doing with the pins.
Well, you took one.
No, you destroy. I didn't take any of them. You keep destroying them.
How did I destroy it?
I found one destroyed last week.
Who says that was me?
Yes, it was you. I've seen all the video. I've caught up. I'm watching all our videos.
How was it destroyed? Was it just disassembled?
The spring was taken out, so it wouldn't do anything. It was really bad.
One episode.
I was like,
one podcast, I was trying to let you finish the plot summary and not get off topic. So I decided to disassemble a pin.
it was bad, sir. You destroyed my pens.
I disassembled the pin just to preoccupy myself, like you know what you do in the army with a gun. And I went to reassemble it, but somewhere along the way, I lost the spring.
This is 2 hours of dreck. I'm sorry. Okay,
You can watch on the podcast where I'm just
probably. Yeah.
I'm looking for this spring. I'll buy you some more pins. I'm sure I've lost like a couple.
Probably
in these
down
couch
there.
cushions.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh. Someday this will be comedic gold, but not today. Alright, so...
I'm sorry.
Okay, so Hepish is finally dead, and they tell the guards, hey, stop the palace coup, your leader's dead. And so the main guy left at that point, who's running the palace coup because Hepish is dead, turns over a sword to the king. King says that there will be no... What?
There will be no
Punishment.
I disagree. I think as the guy was kneeling with the sword, I would have taken the sword and then stabbed the guy with
Run him through, yeah.
Yeah.
Have very...
You need to set an example for betrayal and coups. And
He also mentioned earlier about mercy, and
you can show mercy on those who deserve it. I definitely would have killed that guy.
I think he's trying to show that the problem is Hepish, not these people. Anyway,
So Bad Moms 1 and 2 and what else?
Bad Moms was in Black Swan.
Black Swan. That's
Those are the best movies that she's been in, by far.
Black Swan also had Natalie Portman.
Mm-hmm.
That's a ballet movie.
Yeah, it's Second Round Ballet. Very good movie. Very, very good movie.
I've seen new
Same for Bad Moms. Okay, so I dragged Alyssa to see Bad Moms.
Uh-huh.
Everyone else in the theater were mostly women, just a few men. But the few men looked like, oh my God, I'm here because my wife made me come, right? I was the only guy there who dragged my wife to it as opposed to the other way around. The wife dragged the husband. I saw the trailer, I was like, this looks awesome! And Alyssa loved it, and she loved it. She likes the sequel too. But I dragged her to it rather than the other way around, you know?
Have you seen New Mutants?
No.
Have you seen Happy Death Day?
No.
Oh, okay. We have nothing to talk about. We have nothing in common.
Bother that.
Is there a Black Swan too?
Not none as of yet. No, there should there be.
What about the girl with the dragon tattoo? Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
They remade that one with like Daniel Craig or something, and
There's
like
there's 3 Swedish
sequel
or Finnish movies,
I don't understand.
and there's like 3 American movies. Oh, the hiccups.
It was on TV at one point. I tried watching it, but I didn't quite catch it at the beginning. I had no idea what was going on. It seems like some French experimental film that I didn't understand.
Swedish, I think.
It was confusing.
Okay, so the king says that there shall be no punishments this day. We're going to wipe the state from our history. And he tries once again to make Jo his queen. Proposes to her.
She was conflicted about it.
Yeah.
She thought
Doctor and Jo decided to attend the coronation.
Against it. He's like,
Right. Doctor and Jo decided to attend the coronation, but then the actual Earth delegate shows up. So they run away in the TARDIS and escape just before everything happens.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, what are your questions? So that's the end of the series.
Let's start at episode 4 where we just left off and work our way back up.
Mm-hmm.
This seemed like a perfect transition to a new companion, whereas in the past, the Doctor's encouraged companions to stay behind and live out their destiny. Like,
yeah, he has.
Hey, you need to be the leader of these people, and hey, you found this lover, and you should stay with them.
Especially where there's love concerns. He does that with Susan. He'll do that later on with Leela.
He did that with Steven. He's like, you're the new leader.
No, he just kind of drops Steven off. There's no love involved.
That's
it's like,
Steven.
hey, you'll be the leader of the society.
Who am I thinking?
No, your thing is Steven.
Isn't that
But there's not a love interest.
No, not a love interest, but he became like the new leader of these like alien people.
Right. He does just drop people off when their contracts are up.
But then Joel was conflicted about this love interest, and this is where the first time we see the Doctor advise a companion, no, you don't want to stay behind.
Yeah, it's a little different, yeah.
How is it different?
Well, just what you said, he convinces her not to stay behind.
Yeah, but why?
Why?
Normally he doesn't do that.
He states that he would hate losing her, the same way she had stated she would hate losing him earlier.
He hated losing the other companions too.
I don't know, he fluffed some of them off, like Dodo, like, get out of here, kid, get out of here, we're done.
To be fair, he didn't really choose to bring Dodo along.
No, Dodo was the worst companion.
Whereas
Dodo
other
and
companions,
Adam.
He seemed to very intentionally pick them up and drag them along with his adventures. Whether they wanted to or not.
Ian forced their way into the TARDIS.
But he still took them with him.
Forcibly, yeah.
And he's like, I don't care that you're in the TARDIS, I'm still taking off. He's like, you want this? Okay, let's go.
Alright, what's your next question?
Gosh, this scene... Was this like a very dark Dracula-esque serial Scooby-Doo with like aliens?
You are so focused on Dracula.
It's the Hepish led Dracula Tepish thing. You have this weird beast werewolf thing.
It's very House on the Haunted Hill.
What do you call that genre of like...
Gothic.
Gothic. The Gothic is genre of vampires.
Right.
So World of Warcraft just released a new expansion.
Don't care.
One, there are like 5 new zones. One of them is the Venthyr zone, which is very Gothic-esque with vampires.
You talk about that, I'm going to the restroom.
And stuff. So the Venthyr zone and the new World of Warcraft expansion, the Shadowlands. Do I look okay?
No.
What are you looking at?
We have battery. We still have a lot of battery.
Hatter walks behind the camera. He's looking at the display going...
This battery is better than the old battery.
Alright, good. Got a new battery. Better battery life. This is probably going to be a longer podcast. I'm guessing closer to 3 hours, maybe? It was a long plot. This is only 4 episodes. We got a little off topic. A lot off topic. We had 4 episodes to recap, which, I mean, Hatter is very thorough in recapping the episodes. I just have to go off camera, so I get too distracted. I'll get him off topic, so he never finishes the recaps. So we have the recaps, some off-topic conversations. We still have the season 6 episodes to vote on, our favorite. So that's coming up. But I was talking about the sort of feel of this serial was very gothic, very dark. Just the wardrobe, the sets. It's like set in this castle. And then you have these alien races which just feel very juxtaposition on these sets. So it's a very like kind of medieval gothic feeling with this primal, brutal race of the Peladons on planet Peladon. It's dark and stormy, gothic. And you have these alien races like the Ice Warriors and Arcturus and Alpha Centaurus. Octurus. It's kind of weird and confusing. But, I brought up World of Warcraft because the new Shadowlands expansion has this zone, the Venthyr zone. And it just reminded me of that, very dark and gothic, and you have vampires and castles, and there's this precipice that the Doctor and Joe Grant materialize on with the TARDIS, and they materialize the TARDIS on just the edge of this cliff, and they step out of the TARDIS just in time before the TARDIS goes tumbling down the cliff, and then you have to climb your way. They had to climb their way halfway up the cliff to work into the underground tunnel system. I feel like that's a sort of a repeating trope in the Gothic theme, the Gothic format. For some reason, every time there's like a darker, I don't want to say medieval, but 1700s, 1600s? An older sort of theme, Gothic-esque, Dracula's scary castles. There's this trope, this repeating theme where there's some cliff, some terrace, and that happens in World of Warcraft, which is what this serial reminded me of. Is that cliff in the new World of Warcraft expansion, Gothic theme. You fall off this cliff, and it's this zone, and it's this whole adventure wrapped in itself. And that happens in Dracula movies and like old 1960s horror movies, black and white. You have this damsel in distress that fell off the cliff, and then there's this giant spider. I don't know. It just struck me as this sort of genre, this repeating theme, cliffs and cliff faces, and this just this valley that's no one ever returns from after they venture down into. I hear Hatter coming back. Let's talk about. Oh boy, man, what a week it's been. We've had Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. A lot of whole exciting stuff. So, Thanksgiving, right? Our favorite holiday, is it not? You get food, turkey. What's the chemical in turkey that makes you sleepy?
Ethylene or something.
Something in turkey makes you want to take a nap.
Something, yeah.
Our favorite holiday, food. Mine got canceled, but
Mine, no.
Black Friday, a lot of whole cool deals going on. Mm-hmm. Cyber Monday, the tech Black Friday. Mm-hmm. I need to upgrade my computer. I'm getting more RAM, more memory, storage, because I have some just a library of video games I want to download. I just don't have enough space, so I'm buying a bigger drive.
Have we talked about my computer?
I think so, but let's talk about it again. It's fantastic. You got 2 new monitors, which are beautiful. Westinghouse?
I don't know, but I got a new computer.
What are those? 20 inches?
37.
37 inches?
Yeah.
No way. I'm so bad at estimating. Yeah. Those are big. It's a foreshortening thing.
Yeah. No,
64 gigabytes of RAM.
64 gigs of RAM.
I really want to bring up your do like a benchmark test, because I feel like out of all the computer specs, probably the RAM's the least bottleneck part. You're gonna have like your CPU at 50% and your GPU at 60%.
No,
your RAM's gonna be at like 10%.
A 2-hour video, the old computer would have taken 25 or 30 hours to do. No, to render. Stop that. Stop that. This computer does in half an hour.
Half an hour.
Yeah, like 20 to 40 times faster. Okay.
More than that. 40 times faster, yeah.
Yeah.
42 times faster.
Alright. So the doctrine questions.
Were you about to go back into the plot summary?
I was going to, but questions.
Did we talk about where the Daleks are in this whole galactic?
Yeah, they're not there.
Cancel. Did we talk about how I think Arcturus is a Dalek?
A little bit, just a little bit.
What do you
He, because he's a head in a jar on top of some sort of mechanized unit.
He looks like a Dalek. You know the biological form of a Dalek that goes in the head cap? It's like this black, deformed, tentacle-y thing.
Yeah, but you see them better later on.
I haven't, so.
Yeah, you see them better.
Arcturus kind of looked like a Dalek to me. And he's in this Dalek kind of machine. He has
but he's not a Dalek.
He has a Dalek weapon.
No. It's a plunger. It's not the whisk, you know?
What if he is some sort of primal form of a Dalek? You know, early version before it had...
No.
No?
No.
But it doesn't specifically say what Arcturus was. A race of...
But this race is never revisited. Never.
But are the early Daleks revisited?
Yes.
The earliest we...
Yes.
Okay. You're right.
Genesis of the Daleks.
Genesis of the Daleks.
It's the fourth Doctor's, one of his best serials from the first season.
The fourth?
Yeah, Scarf.
Your favorite?
My favorite. Tom Baker.
I'm excited.
We'll get to him soon.
How many seasons into Baker do we see the Genesis of the Daleks?
His first season.
His first season? Oh, it's coming up. I can't wait.
Yeah, 2 more seasons of this Doctor.
Per week.
Per week
is... Oh, no. Baker has the most...
7 seasons.
Per
week, 5, yeah.
Does he have the most episodes? Does that translate? Episodes and seasons?
Most episodes.
And seasons.
Yep. Because 7.
What about screen time? Do they break it down into...
Yes, he has most screen time.
I bet Hartnell had the least amount of screen time.
Hartnell?
Because he took several season episodes off. Weeks. Several weeks.
No. Least amount of screen time would be McGann, who only had the one TV movie and then the single small episode of 12 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, McGann. He had maybe...
He didn't have a whole season?
No, he just had a pilot.
Oh.
Which wasn't picked up. That was the first...
That's right before the revival. That's when
that was the first
show
revival.
died.
Right, that was the first revival.
Oh.
The second revival is what we're currently watching.
So that revival failed?
Yes. Failed, dead on arrival.
Do we blame McGann for that?
No, we blame the fact that Fox put it up against the Roseanne final episode. God, why?
So they only have one pilot in a TV movie?
That's it. There's a TV movie. That's it.
And they just canned it?
Yeah, they did not pick it up.
Based off of viewership?
Yep, because it was up against the finale.
Fox. But that's American TV versus like BBC British.
Right.
television.
Well, I mean, it was done in conjunction with the BBC. But all the Doctor Who that's been done in conjunction with BBC in America has not necessarily been good. It's only happened for the TV movie and for Torchwood season 4.
So did that affect the viewership in British broadcasting? Were they watching Roseanne in England?
I think it was different timing in the UK.
So just because it didn't have good viewership in America because of Roseanne,
because we're the biggest market, to be fair.
why did it fail in Europe?
We're the biggest market, to be fair.
So that's like where it transitions from a European, from the BBC to like an international television show.
Right.
But it failed the first revival as an international.
Right. I hate the heroes. God, I hate the
Where else do they show Doctor Who? Is it subbed in like Japanese somewhere?
It's all over the world.
They watch it in Japan.
It's all over the world, yeah.
Have you ever watched a Japanese dub?
No, I'm gonna watch Japanese. I don't know Japanese.
That just sounds like a good time.
You want to watch Japanese dubbed Doctor Who?
I think it would be a lot of fun.
Okay. What's your other questions?
Minecraft. Did we talk about Minecraft? Minecraft role? This first episode reminded you of... No, the second one. The castle and the catacombs.
Yeah, the first one.
Reminded you of your Doctor
Reminded me of
your
Minecraft.
world.
Yeah, I like Minecraft.
We're going to play Minecraft together.
Yeah. You need to jump on the server that Chris is hosting.
Let's do it. And we're going to jump in Discord. We're going to record some Let's Plays.
Yeah, there's a Discord too that Jason set up.
Let's record some content and post it.
What?
Do some Let's Plays.
You want to do Twitch?
No, not Twitch. It's just Let's Plays. You play a game. A Let's Play is basically like a podcast while you're playing a game. You're playing a game and you're talking.
Yeah, I tried that on Twitch.
So it's a visual/audio thing.
I tried that, and I talked for 3 hours playing Terraforming Mars.
Mm-hmm.
But you leave giant gaps of nothing in terms of audio.
Because that's live streaming.
Main things, you know.
We can edit it. We can just include the best bits.
Yeah, maybe.
That's what I'll do. I'll do the editing, recording.
You do that.
You just have to show up.
Okay, I'll show up.
I'll send you the edited video.
Alright.
Coming to a channel near you. Can we talk about upscaling video quality for Blu-rays and how not all of the Doctor Who's are Blu-ray quality yet?
Right.
What all goes into the process of that?
I have no idea.
Me either.
But
they do have to do some sort. Like, what is upscaling? They have to do some sort of editing to make previous.
They have to take series that are not high definition. They're 640 in the PAL system. They have to upscale
640
them.
pixels by
Right, 640 lines.
2040.
640 lines. In the US, it was like 580 or something, but there was 640.
Usually, columns are like twice the amount of lines. You have lines and then you have columns.
Well, yeah, that's going
like
by lines.
1080 by 1920.
Right, it's HD.
That's not quite
It's
twice.
HD. But they're taking this
So 640
and they're upscaling it to high definition. You know? And I don't know all the in and outs of the process.
But they don't have they don't have it all on Blu-ray yet.
No, they're working on it.
But they're working on it.
There's different seasons, and they're getting the old seasons in Blu-ray, which you can see the Blu-ray boxes, which we have, and
so there's like a process. They can't just push out all the Blu-rays.
Well, they want to
stagger release for money.
Stagger them. B, they can't put them out all at once, or people will have the money for them. A and B, the old stuff, series 1 through seasons 1 through 6, aren't complete until they animate them, and they're slowly animating all of them.
But for the rest of them,
it's
a process.
They're bringing them out basically 2 a year.
2 a year.
2 a year, which coincides with what they're animating for the old stuff. So it should all be done about 2028, 2029.
So you, as a connoisseur of Doctor Who, where do you get your information? How do you see the release dates of the Blu-rays and what's coming out when and when the animations are coming out?
I get most of my information from Digital Spy and TARDIS Wiki. Yeah, the TARDIS Wiki. And of course the BBC website.
Yeah, okay. They have like a release schedule? Or is it just like, hey, this is out, by the way?
Okay, usually they do. At the moment, it's very higgledy-piggledy because of the coronavirus. Wuhan coronavirus up yours. Yeah.
CCP.
Yeah.
Did we talk about how the Ice Warriors are awesome?
Well, they're bad guys in the past.
But now they're awesome.
Yeah, but not for too long.
One of the coolest developments. And then they go back to bad guys.
Yeah, I can agree with that, yeah. And then they go
I really like the character development.
So they're good guys some point in the future. And they come back and they're bad guys still in the past until they get to that future.
Just the bond that was formed with Islir and the Doctor, how the Doctor saved Islir from the statue crushing him.
Right.
And then later on, Islir is like, he saved my life. I'm going to save his life. And then he just becomes this advocate for the Doctor all of a sudden, even though the relationship started off kind of hazily, where the Doctor was precautious of them. He's like, you guys are bad historically.
Right.
I'm suspicious. I blame you for this murder and the hijinks going on. And then that obviously made the Ice Warriors very indignant. Like, why are you blaming me? You're trying to avert suspicion. Maybe it's you. But then later on, it's just this breath of relief while all these political machinations of Hepesh and everything's going on.
Yep.
And they're framing the Doctor and they're, accusing him of...
Framing the Ice Warriors.
Yeah. And they're causing all this internal turmoil between the ambassadors. Out of that conflict, you see this beautiful bond born between the Doctor and the Ice Warriors, where Islir just becomes this huge advocate for the Doctor. He's like, he will be saved, and we will rescue him, and they shall pay for what they do to the Doctor.
I touched on that while you were
Yeah, it's so cool. I love it. And then Arcturus tries to murder the Doctor, and who the Ice Warriors that blast
him away. Yep.
So it's just one of my favorite characters in this serial, out of nowhere. You never would have thought that you would have loved the Ice Warriors as good guys.
Correct.
They're so cool.
What are the questions you have?
Do we talk about what if Alpha Centauri got a cataract? Being a giant?
Yes.
Have we made fun of Alpha Centauri yet? Have we bullied him yet?
You have, yes.
Just this giant olive with an eyeball, squeaky high voice, big stupid eyeball.
True. All true.
No temperament. Frantic. Ugh. Disturbing to look at, man. Also, I think there's some sort of romantic plot between what was his name? Peladon and Alpha Centauri?
No, there's a big romantic plot between the King of Peladon and Joe Grant. Yeah.
My theory is that Peladon didn't really like Josephine. He was trying to forge a political galactic alliance, and really, he is really great at displaying real emotions. So you thought that he is attracted to Joe, but I think he's a cold, calculated, manipulating person. Here's my theory. Deep down under the surface, he's just trying to gain a political advantage. That's why he's trying to join the Galactic Alliance, whereas Hepesh didn't want them to join the Galactic Alliance. He's just seeking power. And of course, Hepesh is painted as the bad guy. But I bet Alpha Centauri arrived there, and he put the same moves on Alpha Centauri. No. He's like, let's get married. Let's form an alliance.
No.
And obviously, Alpha Centauri is a hermaphrodite hexapod thing. It was like, no thanks. And then he's like, who else can I flirt with?
No, who else can I? He really liked Joe.
And then Joe showed up and he's like, I can form an alliance
No,
with
he
her.
really liked Joe. He was not into aliens and all that.
He might have been. That's my theory. Because he's just cold, calculated,
No.
forming
All right.
political alliances.
So we're going to go over season 6.
TARDIS is indestructible.
Yeah.
Where's the real Earth ambassador?
Yeah, she showed up at the end.
Oh, last question. The Joe and the Doctor take off at the end of episode 4. And the Doctor, historically, has been awful at piloting the janky TARDIS and actually getting it to a specific time and location.
Right.
It just sort of shows up in random places and times, and he doesn't have all sort of control over it.
Yeah.
And then here we have the first time Joe is traveling with the Doctor in the TARDIS, second time. And then Joe's like, you didn't get us back to Earth. And the Doctor uses this excuse of, you think I can't pilot the TARDIS? It was the Time Lords. You think that was a coincidence? The Time Lords that took us to Peladon.
Right.
I think that's an excuse. And he's making an excuse for not being able to control the TARDIS. Because why would the Time Lords take him to Peladon to resolve that conflict?
Much later on, like I said, the TARDIS has sentience.
Mm-hmm.
So the TARDIS is what is taking the certain places at the certain points to fix certain things. The TARDIS, she actually takes him there rather than the Time Lords.
Mm-hmm.
And it's she who determines where they go, what they do, and she's trying to help the universe by taking the Doctor to fix things that are going wrong in specific points in time and space.
So the TARDIS is this good-spirited being that's traveling to resolve conflicts via the Doctor.
Right.
The Doctor has made the excuse of why he can't control the TARDIS is because of some circuit that's not working.
At the moment, the Time Lords, but yeah.
Before the Time Lord's excuse, he said.
Well, no, he's
telling
it, but
Ian and Barbara he can't get precise.
there was a
time and
chameleon
location.
circuit, and there was certain things that were wrong with it.
The chameleon circuit's what disguises.
Right.
He says some sort of circuit's wrong, which is why he can't really manifest where he wants to. It just takes a willy-nilly.
Right. But it ends up being the TARDIS itself.
But here we have the Doctor making the excuse
Blaming
that
the Time Lords.
blaming the Time Lords.
But it's not the case.
So we never come back to that.
Well, he uses that excuse occasionally.
Okay.
But eventually it ends up being the TARDIS itself.
Okay. So at this point in time, does the Doctor not really fully understand the TARDIS and all the quirks?
The TARDIS is not developed fully within the show for the Doctor to understand it, but
maybe not.
Maybe
in an adventure we haven't seen.
It's a whole bit of one, half a dozen of the other. Alright. So
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey
stuff, yeah.
Who knows what happens off camera?
Yeah. Alright. Season 6.
Season 6.
Alright, we're going over the serials.
Serials.
Alright.
We have
The Dominators.
the Dominatrix.
The Mind Rubber.
The Mind Rubber.
The Dominators would have been better. The
Mind
Invasion.
Rubber.
The Crotons.
Insurgent.
Seeds of Death. Space Pirates and the
Croutons. Seeds
Alright.
of Death.
So what do you like? What do you not like?
Space Pirates. War Games. Are we picking what stands out to us most? What's our least favorite? I really like the War Games.
War Games
Off the top of my
is
head.
my favorite as well. But
So let's work our way backwards. The
okay.
Mind Rubber was also really good.
right,
Because there's like a whole lot of subtle.
right. I'm thinking the
poetic.
Dominators and the Crotons are just nowhere near as good as everything else on this list.
Out of the two, I like the Croton, the salad croutons.
Crotons.
over the. I would agree that the Dominators are probably the least memorable.
Okay.
I like the Invasions. Boop. Right. And then the next one to go, you think would be the Crotons?
Yeah. Well, that or the Space Pirates.
See, I was about to say the Space Pirates or...
The Space Pirates suffer from not being existing, being out of reconstruction.
That is...
And it's also really, really hokey.
That is pretty... Like...
So, I'll go the Crotons.
The Crotons, Space Pirates, then the Seeds of Death, maybe?
Seed of Death was good.
It was good. But was it as good as the War Games, the Mind Robber? You know what? The Invasion. These two, to me, are kind of tied. The Invasion and the Seeds of Death.
Alright.
But I want to hear your thoughts.
I'll give both of those going. Alright, so we had the Mind Robber.
Let's discuss the Mind Robber.
Which was the one where they go through the literature. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the literature. They have
and that guy who was a
Gulliver, who could only speak in his book lines.
Right, who ends up later on being a Time Lord, the actor.
Yeah.
And then you have the War Games, which was through all those different places and times. And
you had multiple wars going on with like these
Crimean,
mock nations where they
Civil War, yeah.
They were using the soldiers as like puppets to play their space game.
Yeah.
Of chess, their space chess game. So, for a second, let's talk about the Mind Robbers. The Mind Robbers had really awesome, poetic, subtle notes of self-identification and literature plays. We had...
Right. And replaced Jamie for a week because he was sick.
Yeah, the very first episode was Jamie and... Let's go to the Canadians.
Okay, it should be Jamie and Zoe.
Jamie and Zoe.
Right.
You had them wearing like one color of clothing, and then they step out.
That we could tell because it was black and white.
They're wearing black clothing. Jamie has his black turtleneck on. They step out of the TARDIS into this void. They're being beckoned by this voice, and then as they're sort of their minds are being
manipulated,
robbed, you see that all of a sudden their wardrobes change
to white,
to where they're blending into their background, kind of like white on white pages in a book.
Mm-hmm.
They're sort of losing themselves. They're not standing out like
and the Mind Robber's a good story when you get to the author.
It is a good story too. It is also more it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. So there are a lot of subtleties, some really cool poetic, visuals in the beginning, and then it gets a little bit more fun, a little bit more playful later on.
Right.
And then let's talk about the War Games. The War Games were action, gritty,
intricate, lots of intricacy.
You had this very relatable themes of independence and rebellion and standing up against, these
space aliens.
Your idea of self and, questioning authority.
Right.
And you have these leaders behind the curtains and who are sort of playing with these pawns. Very cool.
Very good.
What's your opinion off the top of your head?
War Games. The War Games is just fantastic.
While I really like the Mind Robbers, and I like the subtleties, overall, I'd have to agree that the War Games would be the most influential, most memorable, the coolest episode of season 6. Closely followed by the Mind Robber.
So write that down. The War Games.
The War Games wins. Unanimous decision.
Next time we do the full episode, which will probably be 3 weeks from now.
3 weeks. We're gonna have a week off.
A week off for my family. And then we'll have movie
Where we
night.
had episode 1 of Heroes versus Villains. Heroes and Villains.
Episode 1 and/or 2 or and/or 3.
Who is our? Who do you think the first Heroes and Villains we're going to discuss?
First Doctor.
The first Doctor. We're going to talk
And
about
then,
Arnold.
and then Ian and Barbara and Susan.
Barbara.
Yeah.
Individually? Are those like 4 different episodes?
Different episodes, yeah. But they can take place for us on the same night. For uploading, who knows? But the War Games, season 6. But we will go over the second Doctor's best episodes between his 3 seasons, and we will determine which one is the absolute best. Sound good? That'll happen in 3 weeks.
I only have 4, 5, and 6 here.
Well, yeah, he was in season 4, season 5, season 6.
I haven't written down the winners for 1, 2, and 3.
Well, that was the first Doctor. We've already done that.
Yeah.
We
did those all in one episode?
No, it was a series of episodes.
Okay. Well, I haven't written those down.
And then we're catching up on this and doing this series of episodes. I think it was a Dalek episode that won overall.
All of them.
Yeah.
Like the first 3 or 4 seasons were Dalek episodes.
First 3.
5. The first 5 seasons were... Wait. 4. Yeah. And then season 5 was the Enemy of the World. The first time... No, it went Dalek, Cyberman,
Dalek, yeah.
Salamander, Oregon.
Okay. So the next week we'll decide, or next time, 3 weeks, we'll decide
season 7?
amongst the 3 seasons of the second Doctor. Yeah. And then we'll go to 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, we're finishing off Troughton's best episodes.
Yep. Alright. Anything else?
I think I'm good. That's all my questions. That's all of our catching up off topics.
Good. Stop that.
Stop what?
Stop being off topic.
I'm running out of something to drink. Thank you once again for joining us for this. The Drunk Doctor Who. Now that's a handle.
Drink that, exactly.
Compare that to my camera. Yeah. Bye.
Drink.
Okay. Shots.
Drink.
You gotta hit end record at the same time I take the shot.
It's still recording, so you're good. Drink. There you go. Good man.
Oh, you didn't time it right.
What?
Bye.
Bye.